in the den of iniquity. Vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment. What's a pity? Tomorrow never certain. What dwells behind the curtain? The face of evil's lurking, with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble. Let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso. Cannons could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.
Hello, hello, hello. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, one and all. My name is Aiko Giamin. This is my channel. Over here, we talk about being better and doing better. Okay. And today I'm coming live and direct from Accra, Ghana. Good evening to you guys. And over here, it's a bright and early morning. Not yet bright. It's about 2:30 a.m. Yes, 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 indeed. And today we're going to be continuing a conversation on this Getting Ish Done episode, which we do every Tuesday, myself and Dr. Thunder. Let me go ahead here. Seems to be a slight delay. Myself and Dr. Thunder, every Tuesday. You're not muted, are you, Dr. Thunder? Or am I don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay, I can hear you. I can hear you. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we're
Yeah.
continuing the conversation which we started out last week. Okay. Last week we talked about being overwhelmed by too much to do. How does one tackle this issue? Because we found out that the big problem with having a long list of things to do is the stress that one feels as a result of the thoughts going through your head about having too much to do. That then leads to you putting things off, right? Procrastination, feeling overwhelmed, stress, the cortisol level rising and all that kind of stuff. But we found out that if you have a way of capturing and processing the information, right, using calendars, using lists, other kinds of things like that, you will be able to remove the stress. You will be less likely to procrastinate, and you'll be able to get more things done, which is what we're here to do, is it not? But last week we were reviewing a video, okay? Last week we were reviewing a video, and we're going to do a kind of a quick recap of where we've gotten to on the video, and then we'll continue. But Dr. Thunder, are there any thoughts, something that came to mind after the video last week, or something you just like, you know what, I wanted to add that, or anything like that before we go ahead and start sharing this video here?
Any thoughts or any thoughts? Because we may because we from time to time we may discuss the first kind there, but no, I thought it was a really good conversation last week. If folks didn't get a chance to check that out, I think it's definitely worth going back and getting the first episode of this. But as Ike does such a great job of doing, we're going to do some recapping, and then we'll continue on. But I think there was a lot of gems, a lot of gold nuggets, as it were, in the first part of this conversation. So
excellent. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play the video to a certain point, and then we'll do a quick recap. More or less, this is a 5 step process about getting things done. It's called the GTD Method by David Allen. It's a book called Getting Things Done, so you can go ahead and get the book, right? And this is a distillation of some of the information that is in the book. And there's a 5 step process. We so far have gotten through steps 1 and 2. Step 1 being capturing what you have to do. I'm going to play the video up to step 1, towards the end of step 1, and then we'll give a quick summary of what we discussed last time. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully I got audio on this thing. Let's go ahead and see.
Imagine that you're walking back from work, excited that another successful day has gone by, when all of a sudden you
Fair
realize
use.
you never called Mike. He's your best friend and today is his birthday. But you were so busy the whole day that you never had a chance to call. No problem, you think to yourself, as soon as I get home, I'll wish him happy birthday. But when you do get home, a pile of unopened mail greets you by the door, unwashed dishes are calling your name, and you get distracted by other exciting house chores. The next morning, feeling like a horrible friend, you wonder, how can something so important slip my mind? The reason is very simple. Your brain is for having ideas, not for holding them. With a never-ending stream of demands for your attention, both at home and at work, things are bound to slip through the cracks. Only when your mind is clear and your thoughts are organized can you achieve effective results. This is where Getting Things Done, or GTD for short, comes into play. It's a framework designed to help you keep track of tasks, ideas, and different projects. The Getting Things Done system is made of 5 simple steps: capture, process, organize, review, and engage. Everything begins with capturing all ideas, tasks, projects, to-do items, and other random bits of information that come your way every single day. These are things like emails, letters, calls, and action items that come from talking to other people, or they can be ideas and tasks that are born in your own creativity and imagination. Wherever that information comes from, you need to capture it or externalize it so you don't have to keep it in your brain. Now that you have all this information captured, it's time to make sense of it so you can actually move forward with your goals instead of wanting to pull your hair out from all the information overload. Step number 2 in GTD is processing. For every item that you captured, ask yourself the following question: is it actionable? The possible answers are 2 and 2 only: yes or no. If the item is actionable, like an email from a colleague asking you about an update for the project you're working together, ask yourself a follow-up question: would it take 2 minutes or less to complete? If the answer is yes, go ahead and do it. If the answer is no, you need to put this action off for later by adding the item to an action list. More on that in step number 3. If it will take you 30 seconds to reply to your colleague's email, it makes sense to take care of it on the spot and move on. If you need to have a 20-minute conversation on the topic, it's best to schedule it in the future. If the item you're processing is not actionable, like a confirmation of a payment you made for your monthly internet bill, you have 2 choices: discard it or keep it as a reference in case you need that info down the road. Repeat the same process for every piece of information. You
All right. So, capture and process. And we could put those two together. Capturing and processing are not very different. But what is the point here? The point here is about externalization. Your brain cannot hold all this information. And as a matter of fact, it is actually overwhelming when you have all these things to do in your head and it is not in an external system. It is not in some kind of a work stream, a workflow, a calendar, some kind of a list. There's a comment there about journaling and things like that. It helps a lot to be able to remove things from out of your head and put it somewhere else. Like counting with your fingers is the example that I always use because that's the one that is very immediately accessible to understand this concept of externalization. When you put things outside of your head, it becomes a whole lot less stressful and daunting to you. Hence, you are able to actually tackle the process. If the gentleman whom forgot to call Mike, right? If he had a list, if he had something in his calendar whereby he called Mike, and also whereby he knew that when he got home there were certain tasks that were waiting for him, or he was already going to be doing the task because he's an organized kind of a person, he would not be in the situation where you feel like you're juggling 10,000 balls all the time and you're always getting hit with new information, which you will be getting hit with, by the way. But because you don't have a means of externalizing, such as calendars, such as lists, such as sitting down and thinking through the process, which means capturing the day, right? You wake up in the morning, you make a cup of coffee or your tea or your kombucha, whatever you do, right? And you take a clean sheet of paper or your app, some kind of tablet, whatever it may be, and you say, well, what am I supposed to do today? And as I'm combining capturing and processing, is it actionable? If it's actionable, what action steps do I need to do? Last time I talked about, hey, I got to design a big building. If I just think design a building, it's rather daunting, overwhelming. I'm going to be putting it off. But what I can always do, what I always have the energy to do, what you always have the energy to do is to be able to sit down and think, well, what is this big thing I got to do? I got to plan a birthday party for my niece. I got to go organize this holiday trip with whatever it may be. You can always sit down and think, what does it take? Okay, it takes X, Y, and Z. Therefore, I got to shop for X, Y, and Z. Where is X, Y, and Z located? I get these from Amazon and I get these from Target. Pop, 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 pop. Next thing you know, things are looking a whole lot easier. This is actionable. And if it's actionable, can I do it in 2 minutes? If it's the Amazon one, can I go and click on it right now? If it's more than 2 minutes and I have to plan it, then I create an action list, hence getting to that calendar or listing thing. Anything to add to that quick summary there of where we are at, Dr. Thunder?
Yeah, I'm a fan of using the calendar. That's how I organized much of what it is that I do. And I'll step through a couple of the things that I said before. Uh, the calendar is sort of like where you sort of account for the time necessary to do whatever the tasks are. And then you need some sort of task list. So you need a list of things that you need to accomplish, and you need to have deadlines associated with those things. And in the sort of long range kind of version of this is where you have goals established, and the goals will help you to decide on which things that you're going to take action on. But ultimately, everything happens in time. So that's why the calendar is so important.
Ultimately, everything happens in time. Hence, time is that, shall we say, ever-present factor, right? You may be, you could do different things in different spaces, okay, but you're still going to need to allocate a time for it, right? So you're going to need to organizing yourself along the realm of time is an important thing. So capturing and processing. So far, that's where we're at. And again, if we remember the principle in the back of our head, the principle is how to get things done. But really, it's about how to relieve stress. Okay. Because we're going to need to get things done, right, Dr. Thunder? Like we don't have a choice on that front. We're going to need to get things done. And we're gonna have a long list of things to do from time to time, especially if we're trying to achieve at a high level, trying to push ourselves, which this show is all about, getting ish done, right? So the question is, how do we relieve the stress? How do we relieve the friction? How do we stop running through brick walls every time? How do we stop alphaing our way through things, right? All the time. How do we make it easy? How do we create a system? How do we create a process? How do we create an assembly line? That's what this is about, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to move into step number 3 in their process here, the process of GTD by David Allen. And step number 3, I'll let the video go through it, and then we're going to come back and give our thoughts.
You've processed the information, things are already looking up for you. Now you need to organize it. And this is where the magic happens. You have an action list with all your actionable items that you did not already do in the previous step. Now you need to organize and prioritize them based on the following 3 criteria: by project, by time, and by context. Actions related to a particular project, such as building a deck for your next presentation or organizing the Halloween party for your kids, should be grouped together. Actions that have some sort of a deadline or a time specific, like for example Mike's birthday, should go on your calendar so you can take care of them when the time is right. You can also group actions by context, such as the phone calls you need to make or the groceries that you need to pick up once you're at the store. Of course, you can also mix and match and put things in more than one category, like that video that you need to create for that project, but it needs to be done on Friday the 17th. This is where you need to tweak and personalize GTD to fit your needs. You know best how to group and prioritize your items, and no system can do this for you. This is where you need to be a little bit creative.
All right. Dr. Thunder, what do you think about this step here? What do you think about this step, organize? They have said here at the very end that this is not something that someone will be able to tell you what to do with. But let me go ahead and give the abstraction. The process here is simple. It is the removal of friction, or shall we say, the increase of efficiency, in the sense that if your dry cleaner and the laundry and Target and the grocery store are all on the same street, and you do have to do all these things anyways, well, while you're on that street, just group those tasks together. Now it'll be a task based on location, right? Based on the street. It could be based on time, based on context, based on project, as they've said. But the point is, you don't want to be like, okay, today I'm going to go to the dry cleaner on this street, but then I'm going to drive all the way across town to do this other task, and hence spending a lot of time going backward, forward, turning around left and right. It's a very energy intensive, low efficiency, high friction process. Hence, I'm giving the abstraction of the organized principle. The organized principle is a means of removing the friction. Hence, that's why he said there at the end, I can't really tell you exactly where the friction lies in your life. Is your dry cleaner and your grocery store on the same street? Is X, Y, and Z, do they share some kind of a thing where it can go together? You're using the same app for certain kinds of things, for example. So while you're doing A, you might as well do B, C, and D, that kind of a thing. So that's the abstraction there. But what are your thoughts as to this? And also, how do you, because you talk about using calendars, how do you group things together, organize things, contextualize things in order to be able to tackle them, if you will?
Okay, so I'm going to use a so this will be a little more granular, and then it'll get a little more macro as we go. So tomorrow, I start a concert series with the Columbus Jazz Orchestra, and we play Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then a matinee on Sunday. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do so that I don't have to come back home is because I actually can't, because the dress rehearsal is at like 3:30, the concert's at 7:30. So that leaves no time, because I have to go somewhere in the morning. I have meetings in the morning. I have, activities at school to deal with. So I won't have a chance to come home first. So I'm going to wear the clothes that I'm going to wear for the concert. So I'll get up, do what I need to do, put on the clothes for the concert, right? Because I don't want to have to come back home. That's going to be wasting time. So I go to the, my my meetings and everything else that I have to do wearing the clothes that I'll be wearing for the concert. So that's a sort of a hack, as it were. But that hack's not possible if I'm not organized. All right. Okay. So so that's a frequent kind of that's a frequent thing that can be facilitated if you're organized. If you're not organized, and it's like, okay, well, I just know I have to do these sort of random things, then I could be driving way too, way too much. All of the places that I have to go are quite a distance from each other, and even if I could do the driving, I wouldn't be possible to actually do that given when the events that I have to do tomorrow, what time they are situated. So I have to know what's going on for the whole day and all of the things that I need to do. I need to know which instruments I need to bring with me. I need to know what music I have to have with me. Obviously, the dress code, I already talked about that. And I need to know what other appointments, where I need to be, those appointments. And if I had to try to just retain all of that information, and that's just one day. All right. If I had to retain all of that information, it's going to substantially reduce my ability to stay in the moment. And, Ike said something last week on the show that I really liked the way that he put that. I was asking him a question about calling and purpose and the sort of God's will for you, the fate, destiny. And Ike answered the question by saying being. That is his calling, is being. And it reminded me of something that Pastor Joel Brooks, who was my first boss, he gave me a job at Christian Life Center in Kalamazoo immediately following my master's degree. He gave me a full-time job. We're still good friends. I've actually had him on a panel discussion on a couple different platforms, on Bernard Riley's channel, also on O'Shea's channel a couple times. It was the kind of Black Church, Black Manosphere sort of collaboration. And one thing that he frequently would say is, you are not a human doing, you're a human being. And so if we allow the stuff that we do to overburden us, it makes it very difficult to focus on that being and that in the moment, that being in the moment is a prerequisite for spontaneity, right? You can't really be spontaneous if you're dragging all of this stuff. I mean, you won't be very good at it, right? If you're dragging all of this stuff with you. One of the things that a calendar allows me to do is to compartmentalize. So if I'm in a lesson with a student, all I'm thinking about in that lesson is the student. I'm not carrying other baggage into the lesson. As soon as it's the beginning of the lesson time, now I am focusing on the student. Now, it's not like this is magic in that if you just start keeping track of your time and putting appointments on the calendar, that all of a sudden you'll be able to stay in the moment. No, it takes discipline, and it's going to take months, years, a lifetime to develop. But at least it gives you a context. It gives you a way to even acquire that skill. It gives you a method. And so much of what is here on this organized step, this is, I mean, I sort of have already said this, right? I said you need a calendar. That's the sort of collector. That's where everything actually happens. You have lists. Those are the things that you have to do. You have different kinds of tasks, and as you start to list out the different things that you have to do, it'll start becoming more obvious which things make sense to try to do together. But if you just have them sort of abstractly rummaging around in your head, you may never actually discover, a major time saving, solution. You just won't be able to see it. It's just too abstract. Concrete, making things like seem more real, and then therefore you can manipulate them. And this is this principle that, again, that Ike said about using your hands to count, and I still do that.
Yes, 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 yes. So you have made things a lot more holistic in a couple of senses. Number one, tying in the first two steps with this step in the sense that if you have not captured all that you need to do and processed it, know the ones that are actionable, not actionable, and then the ones that were actionable, you did them first, and then now you have these other things that are on the list. If you don't have that and a list that can then be manipulated, moved up and down, I'm going to move this one together here, group these things, you're not going to be able to find these paths of least resistance, these little hacks that you have, for example, like the wearing of this clothes and other thing. And then you made it holistic in this other sense, in the sense of your being, you being in the moment, you being satisfied, being in a state of joy, being in a state of somewhat kind of bliss. Not that everything is going great in your life, that's completely different, right? But that the only way that this can be done is when you're not encumbered by all these kind of externalities, things that you have to do. Now you're doing things, but because you're organized and you're doing things in a systematic fashion and in a frictionless way, then you can be in the moment. And we already know, and there are many, many other episodes of which we've discussed these kinds of things. We already know how important to be is and to be in the moment is. Now, to give some more thoughts on this organized step, the principle again is to remove friction. The principle is if all these things are lined up on the same street, go ahead and do them. If all these things require a certain kind of clothing, as Dr. Thunder said, go ahead and wear that cloth or clothing and then go and execute those things out. Take the right instruments with you, organize yourself systematically, in other words. Now, for one other thing that I do is what I call switching of tasks, positions, locations, and so on. Now, I cannot switch tasks unless I already have a list of tasks that I can do in a day or that I should be doing in a day. So if I have four things to do in a day and then they're kind of granular, broken down into other subtasks, right? At some point in the day, maybe I'm just in the mood for getting up and doing calculations on the blackboard, right? Now, this calculations that I'm doing may be for several projects, okay? But since I'm in the zone of standing up and doing calculations, I immediately group those together. What I'm saying is this is more in the moment type of grouping based on my energy level. You have different batteries. Your standing up and doing calculations battery is different from your sitting down and thinking battery. And Dr. Thunder, you know that your composition battery is different from let me just practice something battery, right? It's different. So sometimes you're running low on the battery of creativity, but you can just crank out some mindless tasks, some mindless emails. You can just fill out some spreadsheets. You can do the budget. So if I have tasks in my day, right, that involve different kinds of things, when I'm running low on one particular battery, I don't force myself to just continue to be like, oh no, you got to alpha your way through these spreadsheets. It's like, no, I'm going to move the spreadsheet away for now and I'm going to just bring in this other thing. So it's my energy regulation, my level of focus or my mode of focus at the time that then I will allow me to or guides me into grouping the tasks. But first, I have to have captured it and I have to have organized it, processed it, put them into a calendar, know in a granular fashion what they take before I can then, in the moment, be like, you know what? Now, this what I'm saying here now assumes that you have the luxury of choosing, right? Choosing what to do, right? If you have to go to a concert and then from the concert go to this other thing, you can't just be like, you know what? I don't feel like playing the saxophone right now. I'm gonna switch to this other thing. But within the context whereby you have the ability to choose what to do, a way of removing friction from your path is to just choose the things that you are really, really efficient at right now. And we all know that these things are different. You're not just, and the mistake is to think that you got to go sleep, you got to go eat chocolate, or it's like, no, the mistake when you're running low on one battery is to take out that battery, put it in the charger, and then take the other battery of something else that you can do and put it in, the tool and keep working. And if you don't already know and you're not already organized, you're not going to be able to sit down and think, what can I do now? Maybe this is an additional point. Always, whenever you're running low on one battery, stop and think, like, what can I do now? So there's task switching, there's position switching. In other words, you could stand up. I mentioned standing up and writing on the whiteboard, as opposed to sitting down, typing on the keyboard, as opposed to even sitting down and writing on a piece of paper. And so that's task switching, position switching, and medium switching. I've already mixed all those three together. The medium is the media with which you're working: the keyboard, the computer, the white paper, the blackboard. Also, position and location. You could go downstairs as opposed to upstairs. You could go outside and find that all of a sudden you're able to work again. So, this is one thing to always ask yourself: what can I change right now in order to continue working rather than just stop working? Now, before we move on, any other thing there about the organization, about the, shall we say, when you have the time, when you have the choice, when you have the ability to choose what to do, is there any kind of thing that you do in real time in order to increase your efficiency, remove the, shall we say, friction from your path, or anything of that nature?
Yeah, one thing, and I'm not sure that I'm going to directly answer your question, but we don't really answer questions here, so um, we just raise other questions. So, and by the way, if you're not comfortable with that sort of thing, then maybe this is not the right channel for you. But one thing that occurred to me, that maybe I've taken for granted, in a manner of speaking. Maybe I'm not really taking it for granted, but maybe I don't itemize for it. And that is the idea that by being organized and by handling things in an efficient manner, you actually increase your available bandwidth, overall bandwidth, not just sort of bandwidth right now, your overall. So, like, the number of tasks that you can do over a certain period of time. So by becoming more efficient, in one thing that you said about, like, I can't choose if I want to play the saxophone or not if I have a saxophone gig. Okay, that's true. So, but what I can do is I can manage and minimize the sort of stress of all of the other events that are taking place within any sort of proximity of that. So then I'm guarding my energy, as it were, for something that I know is going to take more energy. Now, and you sort of already said this, in by sort of having your sort of different kinds of tasks that you do, the sort of automatic kind of tasks that you can do, and the ones that require a lot more intensity to carry out. And I liked how you used the composition versus sort of practicing rudiments kind of example. Um, uh, yeah, that's totally the case. I mean, I can watch television. I could be watching The Office as I'm due to start the series, the complete series over again. Um, I could watch The Office as I'm practicing rudiments, like on guitar or on bass or something like that, right? And I know The Office well enough also that I'm not really paying attention and I know what's going on, right? Um, the same thing with like watching a football game and doing some other, you know, task that has to be done, that's necessary, that's important. Remember, I made the distinction between important things and urgent things last week, where uh, important things are this types of things that are necessary to do for you to continue to develop and grow. Uh, but they're also the sorts of things that if you neglect, eventually they will become urgent. And once they become urgent, then you have to drop everything to cater to those things, literally running around putting out fires, right? The house is on fire right now. Get out of the house right now. I got to get the stuff I can get out of the house and get out right now. Okay, right? You don't get to, now you can't be strategic anymore. Right now it's like this is impending doom. Take care of it right now. But the problem with things becoming urgent is uh, it puts you in this never-ending cycle of knocking other things off from being important because now you can't cater to them, and then they become urgent. So now you're running around putting fires out, chasing. So the eight ball is chasing you as opposed to you being in control. I want to talk just a second here about this term time management. Okay. Now, this is a frequent term that we hear all the time, time management. Time management. Okay. That's an oxymoron. Okay? Because time waits for no man, as the saying goes. Time waits for no man. So, since time waits for no man, you cannot manage time. However, you can control the events in your life, right? So, uh, he who controls the events in their life is not being controlled by the events in their life. He that controls, he or she that controls the events in their life is not being controlled by the events in their life. That's all you can actually do because time is going to move if you're doing something productive or not. So, getting organized is the way to create more efficiency, less friction, as Ike has said. Now, are you still there? Because your picture is blank now.
Yeah, I'm here. I just camera battery.
Okay,
Can you hear
all right.
me? Yeah.
I can hear you.
Yeah. So I got you 100% there on the whole thing about managing time. As a matter of fact, there is a there's one of those there's a general principle in what you said. Whenever you hear management attached to something, a lot of times be skeptical of it, or balancing attached to something like, you know, balancing your work and your life, or managing your blah, blah, blah. A lot of times it is just, this is another, we can almost make this another stream. But shout out before I forget, shout out to practitioner in the house. Thank you very much for the super chat. And for the rest of you in the chat, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. For the rest of you in the chat, now you can go ahead and you can drop that super chat too. $5, $2, $1. Yeah, we did it. I don't know if they take 50 cents in the super sticker. I think there's maybe a 50 cent super sticker. Who knows? But we
Food
accept it
stamps.
all and we appreciate it
You
all.
take the
Food
EBT
stamps,
joint.
EBT, everything, ladies and gentlemen. So I like that you bring up this whole management thing because the management thing is another kind of it's a big sham that is out there in the sense that okay, here's some people, they're going to write some books, they're going to sell you some courses, they're going to sell you some seminars, they're going to come to your office and they're going to tell you how to manage something. A lot of times what happens is it's just another thing for you to now do where you wouldn't have to do that or to think of or some kind of another system that somebody put in your head where under normal and shall we say well functioning circumstances you don't have to manage your time, right? You don't have to quote unquote balance your work and your life if you were living under simpler principles, such as the one whereby you are organized so that you can be in the moment. And if you're in the moment, you're going to be in the moment with your kids, right? If you're in the moment, you're going to be in the moment with your wife. And you're not trying to do some other kind of thing where I need to manage and balance my time with my kids and my wife. Rather, you are already well organized. You've captured the events of the day, you've processed them, you've put them into particular categories, you're well practiced, and so on and so forth in everything that you do, so that you can be in the moment. This in the moment aspect is very important when it comes to this whole work life balance or quality time or all that kind of stuff. Because if you are in the moment with your kid, then it'll be time well spent. It'll be quality time. And you did not have to go, oh, how do I balance this? And it will not be a problem, for example. Well, I don't want to completely derail the conversation into a whole how you manage, how you balance your life conversation. But I like that you
Mhm.
brought that up. I like that you brought that up. But, anyways, thank you very much again, practitioner. Let me go ahead and continue the video if I can here. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, this is about getting things done. It's called the GTD Method, okay? The GTD Method by David Allen. And the big principle that we've been seeing all through this is that it is about removing friction. It is about removing that stress that you feel when you're like, oh my God, I got too much to do, right? There's so much to do. What do I do? The problem is, 9 times out of 10, is that the stuff that you have to do is in your head. Take it out of your head, externalize it, and then you can organize it, you can manipulate it, you can move it around, okay? And you will find out that a lot of it frees up your brain all of a sudden to really go in there and solve some of all these minute problems that you cannot see when it's just a big blob of I got to do something in your head. When you break it down into smaller tasks and you have a list in a calendar with a lot of time, allotted time, so on and so forth, then your brain will be able to see certain issues, right? That you could not see before. Like, like I think it was said before in one at some point in this video, it'd be like, okay, well, maybe you don't even have David's number, Mike's number, like Mike, the person that he was going to call the birthday, right? If you write it down, like call Mike, and then you might then realize, oh, I don't even have Mike's number. But when you're just in this mode of I gotta do some things, you don't even know what you don't know, what you need to do them, how you might go about getting it done, and so on and so forth. So when you break things down, capture them, and then so I think it's capture and then process. And then step three is organize, which is a question of putting things in a streamlined way, either organize them in terms of context, time, or project. And then we talk about in real time organization based on energy, based on the fact that, hey, you can sit down and watch The Office and do some rudiments, but and if that's the right kind of mode you're in, then yeah, then this is what we're doing now. And then when you get in a different kind of a mode, then you go in and you sit down and you do the more brain scratchy, creative type things. You can always ask yourself whenever you feel overwhelmed. Now, this is assuming you've already done the organizing aspect. You've captured the information and so on. When you're just going through in terms of energy and you're running low on your batteries, always ask yourself, what can I do? What else can I do? Because 9 times out of 10, you can always do something else. It is rarely the case unless you're just like falling asleep. You're just like falling asleep. And even then, guess what happens? People, even then, guess what happens? People are falling asleep and then they go to bed, but they can scroll through Instagram, right? they have the
Yeah.
energy to scroll. So there's always something you can do. Don't think that because you're running low on one battery, you cannot do another one. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue with this one. This is a continuation of a conversation which we started out last week. So make sure you catch part 1 of this, where we really went deep into the capturing phase of this whole process here, the capturing phase. But let us continue with the video. Fair use.
One thing to always keep top of mind is this question: what is the next possible action? If you sit down to call Mike for his birthday, but you don't have his number, you aren't being very efficient. The next action should have been find Mike's number, not call Mike. Asking yourself that question, what is the next possible action, will help you sequence things much better, and it's going to help you be much more productive. Now that you've organized your action items, the sun is shining brighter and the world is a happier place. But what about the non-actionable items? That's easy. They can either be kept for reference, like that manual for the TV that you don't really need until your kid turns on the Spanish closed captioning and you need to figure out how to reverse it. Or they can be deferred for later, like that idea for a business that you would like to keep and revisit in 6 months when you have more time. Add it to a someday maybe list and create an action item to review this list in 6 months. Done! High five! All the random information is now organized and you're ready to take over the world. The next step is review. With so many demands for your attention, things are bound to go out of place. This is where the review comes into play. Every week, review your items and make any adjustments if needed. Is everything where it's supposed to be? Is there a pile of information somewhere in your apartment or in your office that needs to be processed? A weekly review is essential to keeping everything running smoothly. Every month, take some time to review your short-term goals. Are your action items moving you towards your goals, or are they just keeping you busy? Are you saving for that car? Are you learning that Spanish that you wanted, or are you just in reaction mode? Schedule these regular reviews and reflection periods so you can ensure the train is heading down the right tracks. The last step in GTD is called engage.
Okay. Let's look at the review process.
Hey, this one, yeah.
what we- Go ahead.
Yeah. He said some things that were directly stuff that we've been saying. So he just brought up the short-term goals thing. Of course, I have this whole system. You start with your dream goals, then you've got your long-term, intermediate, and short-term, right? And you start with the dream goals because that's like the GPS, right? That's like the final destination, right? And so you have to start with the final destination. You have to start with your final destination. You can't say, okay, well, let me just look around the house and see if there's something I just generally want to walk towards, because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know where you're going. You have no idea of what's going on. So you start with your final destination. Your long-term goals will necessarily, and they will lead to the dream goal. You cannot have any long-term goals that are not directional towards the dream goal. No long-term goal associated with the dream goal cannot be leading to the dream goal. They must all lead to the dream goal. And then you have your intermediate goals. All of the intermediate goals must be precursors of the long-term goals. They must be necessary to get to the long-term goals, and all your short-term goals must be all goals that are necessarily leading towards the intermediate goals. And it has to be that way. It has to be that way, or else you're just wasting time. Okay. Um, so he mentioned something about short-term goals. I thought that was,
Mhm.
uh, appropriate. And then I like this idea of like giving yourself a chance to sort of like, you don't have to be perfect, when you're doing this, right? So because you're giving yourself, uh, a review period. You're just like, okay, all right, a month has been by, a week has been by, you know, did I, did I do the stuff that I needed to do? How efficient was I, at, at getting this stuff happening, all of that kind of stuff. Um, and then you can learn from your mistakes and become more efficient. It's like the thing that I said, about calendaring everything. So if you're getting everything on the calendar, you're going to quickly figure out that you actually need more time for certain kind of tasks and less time for others. And so you're
Mhm.
constantly, you're constantly changing things, you're adjusting, you're refining, and you may even find out that certain times of the year you tend to be more productive than other times of the year. That
Mhm.
whole sunlight deprivation, that's a real thing for a lot of folks. And So you can sort of account for that. So yeah, I liked how this thing is sort of developing. The longer he's talking, the more it seems to be tying uh, many of the things that we've been talking about together.
Indeed, 100%. So this review process is i- rather common sense. Review and improve. And when it comes to the dream goal, long term goal, intermediate, short term, more granular things, um, I also have a way that I do that. My long term goals are written on my blackboard, the right side of my blackboard. I'm in Africa right now, so the blackboard is not here. I'll be here for when I'm back. When I'm back in February, I'll be able to show the blackboard again. But on the right side of my blackboard, there's a little corner there where I write certain long, really long, like long term things. Right. I'm not necessarily working on them right now, but generally speaking, they're in the back of my mind and they're pushing other. There are guiding, if you will. They're pulling me towards a certain direction. They're kind of guiding the way in which I'm moving with all these other things that come up, all these other, shall we say, emergencies or opportunities that come up. So, but every once in a while, and the reason it's there is so that it doesn't get lost in some calendar somewhere, right? It's in a real physical space in that corner. It's always there. So that every once in a while, when I'll get up and I'll look at them and be like, okay, what can I do to push more positively, more directly, right, towards this goal today? Can I go and start that form? Can I at least put in the application for this thing? Can I call this person? Can I, whatever it may be, right? So the long-term goals I have written down somewhere physical, and I would suggest that you do that. Okay, that you have your long-term goals somewhere where you can actually look at it, not just in your head or in some kind of electronic hidden away thing. It's like, no, put it somewhere where it's just going to be there, so that every once in a while you could even by mistake hit you and see it and you'll be like, oh crap, I think I need to course correct because I've been going way off track, right? If I want to indeed meet this long-term goal. Because as you said, when it comes to the dream goals, no long-term goal thing should be away from that or leading away from that particular direction, right? But let's acknowledge the super chats. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for heeding the call to drop in the bucket. Shout out to Nick Pin. Let's give him a little sound effect. Since be nice, I don't have my board over here. Thank you very
Yes.
much. 9.99. What does it mean again? Is I think if it's 9.99 instead of $10, that means they're using an Apple product, or I think you gave the
Yeah.
insight into that.
Yeah, that's right. So the even amounts like $5, $10, $2, whatever it is, all of that stuff is Android.
Mm.
The 99 with the 99 on it, that's all Apple stuff.
Apple. Okay, I see. I see what's going on. Shout out, shout out, shout out to another heavy-handed $20 super chat. Thanks to you, both practitioner and the reality of fitness, definitely on the sponsorship category. Would you mind reading what the reality of fitness has to say, sir?
Absolutely. Mr. Ike and Dr. Thunder, you may have noticed that I am currently conquering this productivity paradox by battling so many endeavors as well. So salute to you both for your wonderful works and intriguing insights, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, and definitely go ahead and check out the channel. The Reality of Fitness, I believe, has a channel, if I'm correct, right? Uh, I think he's the bicycle guy, or maybe if I'm completely wrong, I apologize. The guy that's on the treadmill, not the treadmill, but the static bicycle, whatever they call it. And also check out Practitioner. Practitioner also has a channel. I'm sorry, Dr. Thunder, were you going to say something?
Yes, yes, yes.
So let's continue, ladies and gentlemen. We are down to the last step. Okay, the last step, step number five. Step number five is engage. Okay, now if I were to put this whole thing together, I would just call it the capture, organize, and engage thing, because the processing and the review thing are almost kind of, shall we say, operational, administrative things. Like, yeah, you got to review. You're gonna need to review and improve as a human being, right? That part. And if you notice, those parts they didn't spend a lot of time on the processing part and the reviewing part. So you capture the information, and then processing just says, okay, well, is this actionable or not? That's kind of like a duh, right? Like, so you capture it, and then you process it by saying, is it actionable or not? If it's actionable, can I do it within the next 2 minutes? That's a 2-minute rule. The 2-minute rule dovetails with one of my rules about, the one touch rule, whereby if you're able to touch something, if you can look at something, if you can think about something, if you can pick it up, then just do what you need to do with it. Don't pick up this cup, go to the sink, drop it in the sink, and look at it and think to yourself, I'm going to wash it later. This is the way of getting yourself in trouble. And this is not some kind of morality thing, okay? It's not. I'm not saying that you're a bad person if you don't wash it later, right? It's gonna get you in trouble if you get in the habit of picking up a cup, going to the sink. You already picked it up. It takes energy. You're already at the sink. It takes energy. You're already thinking about the cup and planning. That takes energy. Guess what? Just use that energy to wash the cup. So the same things with these kinds of the 2-minute rule is what is used in this particular system, this 5-step system here, saying, hey, if you can knock something out in 2 minutes, go ahead and do it. That's kind of one way of removing things from your path, removing friction from your path. But another way is this one touch rule, whereby if I can touch something with my mind or with my hand, or I'm already involved in the thing, don't pick up a brick, look at the brick, and then put it back down. Say, later on, I'll pick it up and put it where it's going to be. It's already in your hand. Put it where it's supposed to be. Okay. So it is the capture, organize, and then engage aspect of this that is really important, whereby the processing and the reviewing are more just intermediate steps that you need to take anyways, and they're kind of administrative. So let's see what this engage thing is, and then we'll kind of recap everything and take this thing home. Fair use.
This is where you actually roll up the sleeves and get cracking. Your calendar should contain all the tasks that you need to do today. Your project list will tell you what you need to do in order to move a project forward. Your context will help you batch things together. As you go about your day, crossing off your action items, new information is bound to come your way. Now you know exactly what to do with it. Capture it, decide if it's actionable. If the answer is yes and you can do it in less than 2 minutes, go ahead and do it. If not, put it on the appropriate action list. If the information is not actionable, it gets stored or it ends up in the trash. Nothing to it. You're now as cool, calm, and collected as a Buddhist Zen master deep in meditation. Now, Mike will never have to spend another birthday without wishes from his best friend. And if you want more videos such as this one, reviewing some of the best books.
Okay. So, as I suspected, the engage mode is just well, now you got to do stuff, right? So it's almost goes without saying that you do have to do stuff.
Right.
But then the engage mode is also engaging this process, as he said. Now you're doing the stuff, and now as more things come to you, what do? You capture, you organize, right? You're capturing, you're processing using the 2 minute rule. Is it actionable? Is it not? Can I do it in 2 minutes? Okay, then cool. I can't do it in 2 minutes. Put it on the list. I put it on the list, and then I move on to organizing the list when I look the next time, right? Organizing it based on context, based on efficiencies, based on well, I'm going to wear this jacket according to Dr. Thunder, right? This is the clothing that I need to be able to do X, Y, and Z. So I'm just going to wear this clothing so that I can do X, Y, and Z for this one day. And then I'm doing the regular review. And then I engage and then I capture again and on and on and on. So he ended, and I like it that he ended with this whole thing, which I've been saying is the point. The point is to relieve stress. The point is to get back into the moment. And he said, "Here, oh yeah, now you're ready. Now you're like a Zen monk in deep meditation." That is the point, because a lot of times when we're procrastinating, it's because we feel overwhelmed. Okay, and we're feeling overwhelmed because we don't have a systematic way of engaging our tasks and getting ish done. So, having said all that, Dr. Thunder, what do you have to say about this? About the video again? You can pick any point. You can pick these last 2 points that were made about the review and engage. But let's start giving our closing thoughts here, back and forth, if you will.
Yeah. So Ike and I did a show on my channel on one of my Thunder's Thoughts episodes where we reviewed a couple Jordan Peterson videos and a couple other videos that kind of laid a sort of context for uh, the self-esteem crisis. The self-esteem crisis. You can go over to my channel now. That videos you can still see. I tend to put those videos behind a paywall. I've got an episode of Thunder's Thoughts coming up this Thursday. It's going to be a little bit later than usual because I've got a concert. Let's see here. That concert's at 7:30, so that show's probably not going to start until 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But when that show goes live, this episode of the self-esteem crisis will no longer be available. But one thing that we talked about on there ties in well with an illustration that I just used today about, like, you're already holding the cup, why waste that energy and basically put it off, for the you in the future to have to do, right? One of the points I thought that was made rather well by that live stream, by that video, that episode of Thunder's Thoughts, was just this idea of actual ways to respect and love yourself by prioritizing the future you over the current you, right? By prioritizing your future self, by respecting them, by setting them up for success, as it were. And by that illustration that I just used, you can see that all of this stuff is really tied together. And you can significantly boost your sense of, self-worth and your self-esteem by becoming more organized, because you will be respecting and loving yourself. And this is a real way to do that, and not some stupid atmospheric tree hugger, whatever kind of earthy, all of that stuff that doesn't do anything, root chakras and all that kind of crap. This is actually a way that you can actually um, treat yourself better, boost your own sense of self-worth, um, boost your sense of confidence in yourself. And I like that Ike has got Reality Fitness's channel here. You can take a look at that. Go over there and subscribe to our my man's channel. Notice that he's got 980 subscribers, and let's get him to 1,000 subscribers. We've got enough people in here just about to get him to 1,000 subscribers. So let's go there now and subscribe to the Reality of Fitness. Check it out.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. As you can see, I just
So
subscribed as well. But
that's
anyways,
one
go.
thing. Yeah. And there was another couple things I wanted to say. So one of them was I want to make a distinction between ongoing activities and sort of single event, sort of one shot events. Okay. Now, in one sense, everything that we do is sort of setting us up, you know, um, for the future and is ongoing in that way because nothing happens in a vacuum. Everything is related to everything else. But what I mean by ongoing is stuff like fitness, stuff like working out, stuff like, um, you know, paying attention to your diet, stuff like, goodness, practicing. Like in a practice session, I will have, I'll have like certain things that I need to accomplish because I've got a gig, I've got a concert, I've got a recital that I have to deliver, and the music is really challenging, and there's really specific things that I need to accomplish by a certain time. There's a time, there's a drop dead date. There's a deadline. But then there is ongoing stuff. And so one thing that I had in my office, and I'm going to get back to this, is I had a list of ongoing activities, a list of ongoing activities. So a list of things that per instrument. So it's like, okay, so for clarinet, here's the list of ongoing stuff. For flute, here's the list of ongoing stuff. For saxophone, for whatever the instrument was, here's the list of ongoing things. So if I'm sitting in my office and I know it's practice time, I always have a list of things that I know that I need to be working on. And to the extent that I cater to those things, again, those things are not going to become urgent matters that I'm going to have to spend all night getting something together so that I'm able to, play at a particular level to cover some musical or something that I'm getting booked to do. Right. So, so I think that's kind of an interesting distinction. I don't think a lot of people make that distinction, but there are ongoing activities which are very important, and you must continue to do them or you're going to put yourself in a funky situation. But then there are events that have specific deadlines. They're drop dead date. You must get it done by this time. And you have to figure out how to address and deal with both of those kinds of events. Yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I thought I for the most part I really dug his approach to this problem, and I think it's well thought out. I would suggest that folks go ahead and get his book. I mean, it's well constructed enough to deal with. Seriously.
And I think that at some point in the future, what I want to do is there are more actual long form podcast or interviews with the author of the book, and I may find some like nice little chunks to kind of get into what he's about, because he's an older gentleman who's been doing this kind of corporate training for a while, David Allen, right? So there's more, as you can, of course, there's more to the book, but also there's more to his system and his experience, right, than we have already gone through. So, ladies and gentlemen, As we have said, go ahead and check out the Reality of Fitness channel. Check out Practitioners channel. This is a men's channel over here, but for those of you who have a significant others, yeah, you go ahead and also, shall we say, recommend Practitioners channel to them. But also, if you want to learn things about, I don't know, the female. We talk about female nature here, but this is more like the female biological nature. If you really want to go there with it, you can check out Practitioner's channel. Definitely. She's a nurse practitioner, so it's about health and all that kind of stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that Dr. Thunder gave a very, very good review of what we've done so far. Okay. Again, the idea is, oh, I got too much to do. I'm overwhelmed, and now I'm in traffic, and right. So you shut down. You start drinking alcohol, and you start feeling your goals. You start feeling less, shall we say, up to the task about your dream goals. You start cutting yourself short. You start losing self-esteem. Okay. All these things are related. Okay. It's not just about a calendar. You think this whole thing was just about a calendar or about externalizing, counting with your fingers, so on and so forth? No. I think Dr. Thunder, through the conversation, has pointed to the holistic aspect of things when he related it even to being, okay? Being, being in the moment, being stress free, being in a mode whereby you feel up to the task of your big goals, and you're able to be in the moment and improvise and do things, and be there for your family, for your loved ones, for your work, and so on. And watch out whenever anyone says manage this, risk management, time management, this management. You're like, life is not that complicated for you to have all these different toolkits of different things to manage. If you're trying to balance your life, your work, and your life, really what's happening there is you're getting less and less in the moment. Because if you create a system whereby being in the moment should be the ultimate goal, and all these things that we're doing, removing friction from our path and so on and so forth, so that we can be in the moment. And when you're in the moment, your relationships will tend not to just get, completely destroyed. Because a lot of times when we're talking about this balancing and so on and so forth, we're talking about how not to F up our social situation, right? And if you can be in the moment, then you can take care of your saxophone playing and your watching of The Office, and being in the moment with your kid, being in the moment with your spouse. And how can you do that? Is by being less overwhelmed and by being more systematic and so on and so forth. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that we were able to keep this one relatively concise today, cogent, coherent, concise, triple C, triple C, triple C, triple C. So, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Thunder, do you have anything to promote? Anything to promote?
I do, and actually another super chat just came in also. So why don't you put that up there, and I'll read it out, and then I'll do some shameless promoting. Jose Navarro, it's incredible how much less you tend to work when you have too much work. There is a strong correlation between dopamine, motivation, and productivity. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So here's the stuff I want to plug. There's actually a bunch of stuff. Now I did an impromptu live stream this morning on YouTube. It was what was the name of that? Let's see here. What am I thankful for? What am I thankful for? And I was just talking about, I eventually gave a list of things, but really was just more about kind of taking stock of some of the opportunities that I have, and how everything has sort of been facilitated by my really pursuit of excellence in one particular area, and then that grew into others. The Bible says that your gift will make room for you. Your gift will make room for you, but you have to cultivate the gift. In cultivating a gift, that's when it actually becomes a talent. And when it really is a talent, then that's when it can make room for you. That's when it can facilitate all of these other possibilities. So, I was a musician first, and then a professor, and then a social commentator. And so all of the stuff that I discuss and the stuff on Ike's channel is all it's all because I took care of one thing at a high level first, and then allowed that to make room for me, to accommodate and allow me to express ideas, thoughts, that I have on other subject matter, stuff that I think is important, but stuff that nobody would listen to anything that I had to say unless I had shown that I had a particular expertise at getting ish done, right? So there's that, and I've got a number of concerts and things. I'm going to be putting them on my community tab. A couple of the concerts are live streams from Ohio State University, where I serve as director of jazz studies. We've got a jazz holiday concert, which is going to be very cool. 5 of our bands playing, free concerts, live streamed. So I'll be doing that. That's going to be December 7th, and that's at 8 p.m. Then December 6th, the Ohio Show Band is going to be doing another live stream. It's going to actually be from my office, which is where we rehearse. We'll do a live stream. That's going to be 6:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on December 6th. I've got the concert series with the Columbus Jazz Orchestra all week. That's great. But I do want to punch one thing in particular, and that is I've just accepted a position as musical director at a church. And I was in a position up until May, and now I am I've been on a bit of a hiatus, but not accepted this other position. And I'll tell you, a lot of the reason why these kinds of positions happen for me is because I'm organized. It's because of all of this calendar stuff that I talked to you about. And it's about a lot of the stuff that we've talked about on these last couple episodes. That's actually made it possible for me to be able to even accept a position like that, because I can control the events in my life. But I think it's because creative personality types, which I am, I'm an artist, aren't usually particularly organized. And so when you find one that is organized, that is it's a good combination, especially for an institution, right? So that's another good reason to get yourself organized, to get some of this stuff together, and stop sort of putting stuff off, and stop creating problems for yourself. So let me read the super chat. OMG, what is it? Juana, Washington, or Juana, Washington. OMG, I just gave thanks for my vehicle. I thank God for it. I practice being thankful every day. Great show. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for all the support today. That means a lot.
Indeed.
I mean, we enjoy these conversations, and I think we'd be having these conversations anyway, but it really we really appreciate the support, and keep it coming. And like I said, we even take EBT and food stamps. We'll give you half the value of the food stamp.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, wait a minute.
I
There's
guess
another
they
one.
are.
There's another one.
Yeah.
All right. Jose Navarro, $5. I learned an incredible routine called locus of control. You draw 3 circles, focus only on what you can control and influence to get to the results. Thank you.
Yeah, I recently had
Heck,
a
man,
meeting
maybe
with
we
that.
should just keep this with. We should just keep this going because cats keep throwing. What
Yeah,
were you
the
going to say, man?
locus of control thing was something I recently heard of too, or just another particular mode of organizing these same thoughts, right? Because the thoughts about how to get things done, how to remove friction from your way, are not numerous. The concepts are very, they're the fundamentals are not very varied, but there are many things that you cannot control, like, oh, the corporate office always does this, or the blah blah, whatever it may be, or the Rona, right? Now you can complain about that, you can focus on it, you can discuss it, you can blah blah blah, but this uh locus of control thing really just, you put that in a little, you put that in a circle that of crap that is just going to be there, and then you leave it alone. And then there are things that you can have a little bit of control about, and then there are things that you actually have full control of, right? I'm not an expert in this particular system, but I just remember hearing it recently in some HR meeting. um, and then that's what you can do, and then you forget about the fact that the head corporate office, it doesn't allow you to do X. They're never going to allow you to do X. So either you're going to quit the job or you just shut up about it. Serenity prayer, things I can control, things I cannot, the wisdom to know the difference. Basic stoicism is what is exemplified in this locus of control method. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back. Okay. Check out tomorrow evening. I'll be here with Joan. We'll be premiering a video where we'll be going over the idea of valuing your time. And what we're saying is, don't value your time. How could you say that? What we mean is, don't put a dollar amount on your time. If you must, put a huge one on it. Point is, thinking of yourself as someone whom gets paid for your time as opposed to getting paid for product, an outcome, right? A result is the way of staying stuck. If you think of yourself as being paid for your time as opposed to your product, your outcome, is a way of getting stuck. To break out of the glass ceiling, you need to come out of this whole I get paid for my time thing and say, hey, you know what? I get paid for this product, this outcome. I get paid to sell. I get paid to create this thing. I get paid to write this book, not to clock in and then tick, 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 tick. And then you think, oh, well, my time is equal to your time. And how come I don't get paid? Anyways, check out our video tomorrow. We're going to be breaking it down on a granular level about how to really remove yourself from this hourly wage, even salary or 40-hour work week. Putting time to things is a way of getting stuck in the middle class or even lower middle class or whatever it may be. Whatever the next step you're trying to get to economically, you're going to need to really think about how you value productivity and how you need to decouple it from time. And one of the main things you need to do, therefore, is to pay people to do things for you if it's not worth your time. Because the businessman is like, hey, I'm going to pay this person to come clean my house. Okay. I'm going to pay the gardener to come do the mulch. Now, okay, I could, Dr. Thunder, go borrow the truck from my cousin, okay, and then go to these other two guys, these two roughneck friends of mine the next weekend, go over to the place where we can get free mulch, get the free mulch, come home, I'll pay them in pizza, and then we can spread the free mulch in my house. I could spend 3 weekends because I don't want to pay the gardener $500, right? But what the hell kind of a dumb thing is that? And people do that all the time, and they're proud of themselves. Of I got free mulch, and I used my cousin's truck to get it. And it's like you have 3 people working on something. That's 3-man hours, and so on and so forth. When you could have been doing something else. Now, the reason why you pay the gardener is so you can go do something else. It's not so that you sit on your butt and not do anything. Pay the gardener.
Yeah.
Pay somebody to do the work so that you can be doing the things that you're best at. Because if you, anyways,
right.
ladies and gentlemen, we'll be here tomorrow with that kind of content so we can make those kinds of breakthroughs. But for now, let me go ahead and thank again. Okay, we have a lot of gratitude to Mr. Jose Navarro, Mr. or Miss Juana Washington, and practitioner Nick Pin, the reality of fitness. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, peace. We are gone.
In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what's a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what dwells behind the curtain, the face of evil lurking with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble that either pop or topple, many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannons could breach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make me get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.